Welcome to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. I'm James Groves, and along with my business partner, Bill Dement, we want to share our journey as small business owners with you. As owners of Hole in the Wall drywall repair, we will attempt to peel back the curtain of owning a small business in the trade service industry and talk about the many adventures of owning a small business. Hey, Bill.
James, good morning to you.
Good morning. Lots of exciting things happening in our world. We've got big open houses.
There's a lot of moving and shaking going on, isn't there?
Big franchise conventions coming up.
Yep.
And just a lot of really neat things happening in our world. So we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah. Excited today about our guest as well. He's in the restoration business. And as you know, a lot of our listeners may or may not know, but we actually were in that business ourselves for a few years. And we actually keep an interest in it. And we work with a lot of companies that do that, and we do the drywall put back and things for them. But let me go ahead and introduce him. It's Jorge Mojica. He's from PuroClean of Meadow Woods.
Hello, Jorge.
Welcome
to
in.
the show.
Thanks for coming today.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So glad you're here today. And I met Jorge through one of his employees, Gabriella. And obviously, you guys are networking like crazy. And we was kind of a good fit. We met, kind of hit it off real well. We actually started doing a little bit of work for PuroClean, and it was one of those relationships where it was like, let me do one job for you, and if you like us, use us again. If not, let me know what we did wrong, and we'll fix it, and then no hard feelings. And ever since then, we've been kind of doing some things together. So we're so glad you're here today.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, being in the restoration business for about 4 or 5 years. It's kind of still a passion, a love, although I have no desire to be in that business again. And I'm grateful for guys like you who do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we know that PuroClean is a great brand, been partners with PuroClean for a while. So, but I would love our audience to kind of learn about you and what kind of background you have and what led you to PuroClean, and just kind of dig into the meat.
A little bit about me. You want the small story or the long story?
Well, whatever you feel like telling this morning.
Well, I'm born in New York, grew up in Puerto Rico. At the age of 17, my bad, I went to the military, the U.S. Army. I spent 23 years.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
23 years.
23
All right. So being in Florida, there's usually people are born in Puerto Rico and moved to New York. You're the opposite. You were born in New York. Correct. And then you spent some time in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I grew up in Puerto Rico. My parents decided to go back from Puerto Rico. Matter of fact, my parents grew up in New York. I guess they got tired. Then moved back to Puerto Rico when I was 5 years old. Spent it there until like 16. Went to New York for high school. And that's when I went to the military.
Wow. And then you went in the military just right out of high school.
At 17 years old.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. Excellent. Yeah. Well, thank you for your service. 23 years is a long time.
Oh,
so obviously you retired.
Yes.
So you're now out of the military. What's your thought process? What are you doing next?
Well, I needed to find something interesting to do. After 23 years, I'm kind of, I still young. I'm only 40 years old.
Yeah.
Be in my house. My wife's about to kill me. I'm trying to paint the whole house and do stuff in the house. And so I found a job building houses here in Central Florida for a builder company. Did that for a while. Got kind of boring. And called VA. VA sent me a list of all the franchise. They are veteran friendly. Yeah. Went through it, and I fell in love with this one.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, the restoration world, because we say the word restoration. Yeah, I remember when we were getting into this, when we had our name, we said, do we really want the word restoration in our name? Because you think of restoration, I'm going to restore an old clock or an old car. There was a show on TLC where they were refurbishing, old, vending machines and gas pumps. And restoration is kind of one of those words that's kind of a catch-all. But we know restoration in more of the emergency services, right?
Correct.
So when you say restoration, what kind of services is PuroClean offering?
Well, we've restored the houses back to where it was before whatever happened, the damage. For example, a broken pipe, all the drywall are wet, and you restore it back to normal, back to before the damage happened.
Yeah,
if it's a fire, mold, or whatever.
So that would it's sort of rebuilding to bring somebody back to where they were pre-damage, right?
Pre-damage,
pre-loss, yeah. And so it's important that you have a structure because you're in people's homes when they're really the most vulnerable.
Exactly.
Right? So whether it's an emergency where a pipe has burst and you got to get there right away to kind of stop the major damage from growing, or the damage is already there. And it could be a fire. At that time, once the firefighters are done, it's not only fire damage, but there's a huge amount of water damage.
Yes.
Right. Or maybe someone's had a slow leak that they didn't know about, and now they've got crazy amounts of mold, right? So you have to know all those things.
Yes.
So how did you go about getting your education? How did you go about when you got into PuroClean? Obviously, you were already smart in these things, but how did you, because some places don't do fire. They only do
what?
Emergency water, right? Or if you're not mold certified, you can't be doing mold, right?
Yes.
So how did you kind of go about that process to select what you want to do?
Well, first I did my homework, set it the proper franchise to go into it. Because like is many companies out there that provide good service. But this franchise had in their big warehouse, in their headquarters in Tamarack, Florida, they got a flood house. So what they do, the flood house is with code, is you could live in that house, but it's inside a warehouse. And they flood it. And you have to dry the tissue properly, how to dry it, prevent further damage, unnecessary damage, because he's not only going to the house and start breaking walls and, okay, that's it. No, you want to prevent the damage, minimize the loss. And they teach you before you could open your doors. Yeah. And every owner had to go.
They provide certification too, right?
Yes,
because you need to be certified in water and fire and mold, perhaps, and
biohazard cleanup.
Biohazard, yep.
Yeah. And they provide all that with the IICRC certifications. So, yes, they train you before you go out.
Yeah. They're not sending you blindly out into the world, obviously. So I actually went through that training quite a bit, and I really enjoyed learning about like in a flood house, because it's how to dry a carpet in place, or when do you need to remove the carpet versus the padding, and do you want to open up, remove the baseboards, or do you want to rip the drywall out? And the process typically is we want to be as least invasive as possible, but be as thorough as possible. Right?
Correct.
Yeah. So if you can dry it really fast, you may not need to do major damage.
Correct.
But there's also different types of damage. For water, water alone has four different classifications, right? So if a hose or pipe bursts, it's clean water, and it's now all over your floor, we call that what? Cat 1. Category 1. If it's somewhat dirty, Cat 2, you wouldn't want to drink it. But it's not, not dangerous. But then you've got like that gray water, that yucky stuff, the toilet overflows, something backs up in the system. That's going to be your Cat 3. It also could be your Cat 3 for like hurricane damage or anything that comes in from groundwater from the outside. That'll be Cat 3. And you have to treat every one of those differently, right? You can't treat them all the same.
Yes. Like the Cat 1, you could dry everything on spot. Everything's serviceable. They said. Cat 3 is everything that touched it had to go.
Got to go.
Because of the dangers of bacteria and stuff in the porous and semi-porous materials. So like a flood, like you say, water coming from the outside, you have to cut the drywall. There's no saving that because of the dangers of the water outside. Remember that all the sewage in the streets are under the streets. So when you get a flood, that water is all contaminated with that water also. Yeah. So that's why it had to come out. If it's a toilet, everything that touched it had to come out.
Well, that's why the standard's so important, because there is a standard for, you can just go in and do a quick dry and be gone, but the bacteria is still there. That's why you have to remove it if it's that nasty.
Yeah, and when it's dry, it's even more dangerous because then it gets airborne. So it's even more dangerous leaving a bacteria inside your drywalls.
Yuck. Yeah, nothing like that. And then, of course, inside the walls, you've got your insulation, and you got all the the garbage is back there. You ever cut into a wall and see things you don't want to see back in there?
As a matter of fact, last week they had a big animal in one of those walls.
Oh, my.
Big. I don't even know what it was.
Oh, my goodness.
Like a raccoon.
So I'm curious, and you touched on it a little bit ago. You selected PuroClean, but you looked around at a lot of other businesses, right?
Yes,
And
correct.
tell me a little bit about that process.
Well, they sent me a list of all the ones that are like veteran friendly, they help around.
And this is from the VA.
From the VA.
Okay.
Yes. Well, the doctor in the VA sent me the link. His thing is Fab Bed or something like that. I forgot the name. It been 4 years ago.
Sure.
But they sent me the list, and I went through it. And one of the, I ran out. I pick up a bunch of them, but everything was a restoration because when I started doing my homework, it felt like you help the person when they are more at need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when you get fired, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Sure.
And being in the military, it felt like, wow, I was in the military, now I'm helping people in the hurricanes. I travel a lot and try to be there because you have to go try to help the customer.
So what stood out in your mind about PuroClean? Why did you select them?
After weeding out a couple, kept like 2 or 3 restoration because I already knew, okay, now I think this for me.
Okay.
The president of PuroClean told me the most important thing is customers. You take care of the customer. Everything else is going to come back later. The focus of PuroClean, the whole mentality, it was.
You know what? I think he was right on. We've really found that in our business, haven't we? Just take care of the customer, and the rest will take care of itself.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we really identify with that.
Yeah, and that's the point. If you don't go out there and try to just make thousands of dollars just in the small jobs, on a small job, it doesn't work that. But you try to rip off the person where they're more vulnerable. What's that word?
Vulnerable?
Yeah, vulnerable.
Yeah. So that's kind of bad,
Yeah.
You have to take care of the customer. You have to, if you don't want somebody to treat you mom like that, how are you going to treat somebody else?
Well put.
Yeah, well put.
And that's the mentality. And they put him in the office. They talk to us. The president of PuroClean is an ex-military. They help us. Veterans, so it's a lot of veterans with PuroClean franchise around the United States and in Puerto Rico. As a matter of fact, the one in Puerto Rico, PuroClean of San Juan, he's an ex-military also, U.S. Army. So they focus and help you out and help the customers.
Yeah,
that's the major focus. Everything else will fall in place.
And so you'll help them. So do you work with the insurance companies directly? Or do
we got some, how you call that, some, not contracts, but agreements that they're going to prefer vendors. But at the same time, we don't work straight for the insurance. We work for the customer.
So if I have a loss, will you help me file the claim and stuff for my insurance company?
Not file the claim, but we'll work with you.
Yeah.
We're not public adjuster that we could file claims, but we work with you, try to help you out in the process.
Right. That's really good stuff. Curious, have you thought about, venturing PuroClean elsewhere other than Central Florida?
I'm looking through it, maybe later on down the road. Right now, we were talking about opening one in the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, but that's way down the line.
It would take a minute. Yeah. I mean, it's a big deal because, you utilize a lot of equipment. What I kind of liked about restoration, just inside talk here, is that even though there's not somebody on site, you have to have dehumidifiers. You have to have air scrubbers and HEPA filters. You have to have blowers to make sure that things are dry properly.
Right.
And then, of course, insurance pays for those. And they're just a rental, like you're renting a car, like you're renting, a backhoe to clear a tree. And so there's a daily burn on those things.
But there is maintenance, and
absolutely,
the filters have to be replaced, and they have to be serviced even when they're running the dehues. Somebody has to go sometimes drain them or make sure they're not leaking. And
Well, and the insurance company required documentation and all that stuff. They won't pay the bill. Like, why did you have that for 5 days when the standard may be 3 or 4 days?
Right.
You have to document. You got to go and take moisture readings, right? You got to
Yes.
take in all those things. So you have to prove your case. So it's not like they just sit there and make money. But when you have a large loss and you got 20 blowers on the floor and you got 15 dehues, it's nice from a profit standpoint. Listen, we're a business podcast here. Reality is we are in business to make business. We want to help people. We want to restore them, but we want to be paid for our services fairly.
Yeah.
And that's where the restoration, in my mind, that's where it really flies because and for a while it's hard to get the equipment too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult. When we bought our equipment, we bought it right before Hurricane Michael. And I think we kind of, I don't want to say lucked out, but when we bought like 20 dehues, they were like the last 20 dehues.
Yeah, well, we can say our timing wasn't bad.
No, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Actually, I'm actually glad to not have any of that equipment in our inventory anymore.
Yeah.
So I know you do water and I know you do fire, because fire is not just, removing the damaged area, but there's like a lot of secondary damage in fire work, right?
The soot.
The soot,
yeah.
the odor,
The smoke smell,
Smell odor.
and we never got into fire. So I've learned about it, and it almost scared me. It's like, man, I've heard stories of people's, they get the house put back together again, and all of a sudden a humid day happens, and they smell smoke all over again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the most important thing, to get somebody that's qualified. They go through the school. I know the most scary thing is maybe the price. When they say, oh, why are you going to break this or why are you going to do that? But if smoke got behind the walls and it got insulation, it's nothing going to take that smell out, just taking the wall out.
Yeah, that's right.
The insulation in the attics are blow insulation, so you have to remove that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
That catch the odor and will keep the odor in it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of contractors, they're good, they're great, but they skip a lot of steps that you're supposed to do to be able to eliminate the odor. Even the drywall is semi-porous.
Yep, it is.
If smoke got behind it, how you clean that paper?
That's got to go.
So you have to go. So small fire in the kitchen, your living room, probably, whatever is next to your kitchen.
Yeah. So when you guys are rebuilding a kitchen or part of a home that's had a fire, are you required to be general contractor, or is that you'd bring someone else in for that?
Well, not for the remediation part.
Okay.
Yeah. And remediation is just remediation.
And not all restoration companies actually do the actual putback. A lot of times they will have a
We've experienced that, haven't we?
Yeah.
Where
That's why we do a lot of the work.
Yeah.
Because we get people who just, the restoration, do they want to own a construction company as well as a restoration company?
Yeah, that's
Not
a full
usually.
plate. Yep.
Yeah, it's a full plate.
Yeah.
It's an avenue for sure, but there's a lot more liability and headache there. So, yeah.
We take everything apart, we clean it, we make sure that the smell, odors are gone. The most important thing, not even the odor, but the soot, because the soot could give you cancer in the long run.
Really?
Yeah. So all that, we make sure is out. We get a interior environmental professional to go and check it out, make sure that, all the area inside is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the AC is on, also, the fire could have been in the kitchen, but now the soot is all over the house because of the AC system.
Yeah, and in the ducts.
Yeah.
In the ductwork too.
Well, it's true.
Yeah.
In the air conditioning. Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's what's kind of nice about Florida is that it protects the homeowner, because you could have some of these bigger companies that come in and they will do the mold testing, write the protocol, do the job, and bill the insurance company directly. And you don't know if that person did more or less than they needed to do.
Yes.
So in Florida, they require an outside person to kind of come in.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So they have to come in, they do the testing, air quality, they do the moisture testing, and then they write the protocol. So the restoration company, and then they make sure that the restoration company follow the protocol, and they give you in the PRV, whether you pass or not, the post-remediation verification.
Yep.
So that's the protection for the homeowner, and it's protection for you. Right?
Yes.
So if you got the certification, that house is clean, then you did your job well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that, like you said, they protect the customer because, if the same guy that's checking for mold is telling you what to take off, you probably got a little bit of mold in one corner and telling you to remove the whole house.
Yeah. No, it happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's why it's good for Florida, but at the same token, customers had to ensure they pick up licensed contractors. Do not go with a cheap one. Do not go with somebody in Home Depot in the front parking lot. Just get the right contractors.
Yeah.
You go to floridabits.com, I think is the website. Or My License, Florida, My License, Florida, something like that. And it will show who got license or who not. And they got plenty of people around this area to take care of you.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you do biohazard as well. Take a minute and talk about that.
Biohazard, on biohazard, we do all of it. Everything from sewage that become biohazard all the way to unattended death, homicides, and stuff like that. On that, thank God we're not doing that many, but the ones that we've done, yes, it's
You don't think about that. I mean, I do. But if there is an act of violence and there is a death, there's all kinds of contamination that's on that job site that are on that home or wherever it's at. And so they need to have a licensed professional kind of come in that knows how to remove all that bio waste.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got a medical waste company that come and pick up the materials because everything had to be discarded the correct way.
So you're obviously involved in areas of contamination. So whether it's mold or whether it's going to be in fire or in the crime scene stuff. So you guys have to really take the safety of your personnel very seriously. Right?
Correct.
So learning about proper PPE, learning about proper protection is important, right?
Yes, we get training all the time. They have to train how to put it on, put it off. If they're not wearing something and they get caught, they get ridden, 3 times you out, basically, because we cannot take the risk. They had to get vaccines, mask fitted, and all that had to be, we never send one person alone to do a job. It had to be in groups, minimum 2, one outside, one inside, or,
Interesting.
making sure they wear the equipment.
Yeah. Did you know that there are over 140 million homes in the U.S.? 97% of them have walls and ceilings that are built using drywall. The drywall repair industry is simply enormous, valued at over $13 billion a year. We're hole-in-the-wall drywall repair, and for years we have been perfecting the art of repairing drywall, developing and refining our systems, and strengthening our brand. Our business model is simple, scalable, and easy to learn. We believe it's a real game changer. We are successful drywall repair pros who decided to take our repair business to a higher level, growing both our franchise training and support to industry-leading standards. You'll benefit from our vast experience helping your franchise hit the ground running and achieve success quickly. We'll give you access to our marketing team that has created strategic programs designed to get your phone ringing and booking new business fast. Join a fast-growing leader in an exciting dynamic segment of the home service industry by franchising with Hole-in-the-Wall Drywall Repair. Start building your own business and securing your own financial future today. So you mentioned something I really appreciate is that's the vaccines, because obviously we think vaccine, it's not COVID we're talking about. It's hepatitis. I mean, what kind of vaccines do these guys got to get?
Well, there's a list, but you mentioned it right there.
Yeah, it's all nasty stuff, isn't
all
it?
the nasty stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because they're in mucky places, right? They're in places that...
the breeding grounds for that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, chemicals kill it, but you're still near it. Luckily, we've got gloves and suits and respirators. What I found really interesting is when we talked about during the pandemic about everyone wearing face masks and stuff, well, we know that if you've got facial hair, OSHA doesn't approve a face mask. Right?
Exactly.
There's only one type that if you have facial hair, you can do, and that's the PAPR, and that's a different airflow.
It's a big full face thing, isn't it?
Big full face thing, and it's got a blower that's blowing air into your face that's filtered as opposed to sucking through.
The air is coming out from the sides.
Yeah.
So you guys got to go through fit test to make sure that they learn how to fit those things properly. Unload, So I kind of giggled when we were all walking around with face masks on during COVID. I was like, come on, we know what's going through.
Yeah,
we know the microbial size of a virus is a lot smaller than the holes inside that face mask.
Oh yeah.
But Obviously that was, I don't want to get too political, sorry. But it was just, it giggles. We learned so much about PPE in the middle of our restoration career, and then the pandemic hit, and it was like, this is really, really kind of crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's funny when you go to the school about the respirators. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So what are some things that help you in your business? I know that obviously we mentioned that we have partnered on a few jobs, but what are some things that, what are some strategic partnerships that you've had to align with and just kind of help you grow your business?
Well, drywall. You guys to spend plumbers. We deal with a lot of plumbers. Even the electricians, because, water go up, they have to check everything. Or even a fire, they have to move some wires around. So those guys help the customer a lot, And sometimes when you get there first, or probably all the time, when you get there first, the customer is looking at you for every answer. And I'm not a general contractor. So I say, well, I know all these people. You could call these guys that, I try to pick up the best ones out there. That everybody there, I tell them, okay, you could call this guy. He could help you out. He's not somebody they're going to try to take advantage of the situation. And that's something that, we partner a lot with all the trades to do. Even windows, people that put windows, window leaks. We don't do windows, but we know a few good contractors in the area that could help the customer. At the end, is helping the customer pick up a good contractor, not leave them there by themselves and say, okay, let's go.
Yeah, see you later.
Yeah.
But you can't refer someone you don't trust.
Exactly.
So you have to have some sort of relationship with that person. So if I am your client, your customer, I've had a huge water loss in my kitchen, whatever it is, I'm going to lean on you to get a little bit of direction, point me in the right direction, help me through that thing. So you've got to have people that are in your sphere that you would want to back them, put your name on it.
Yeah.
Well, what is next for you and for PuroClean? Do you have any growth strategies? I mean, obviously you're still only a few years in, right? So it takes a lot to grow the reputation of this business.
Yes.
But what's next? What do you feel is your next opportunity?
Well, right now we're spending making another team, technicians. Probably do we just got a brand new warehouse probably 2 months ago.
Nice.
So spend the operations inside the office operations, and then spend around Florida, probably East Florida, or West Florida, somewhere, even out of states. I'm talking about overseas to Orlando, Puerto Rico, and might be Georgia, something close by that I could at the beginning.
Yeah. There's always plenty of room and plenty of work for reputable companies, aren't there?
Yeah. And you're right. If you just do right by the customer, they'll do right by you, right?
Exactly.
You treat them well. We call it clean living here at home.
Yeah.
It's that clean living
paying off.
Well, that's really exciting. I'm really excited to kind of see where it goes. Maybe we'll be doing an open house. We'll come to your open house.
That would be
we
fun.
planned that, but
That would be fun.
we want to do a big party. So Gabriela was doing the planning for October, and we're like, okay, you probably have to push it because you want to do this. Okay. So we plan to do one coming soon.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. That's very exciting. I'm really anxious to see how your company grows. I know that
you do get the feel it's going to be successful, don't you?
It cannot be not successful.
Yeah.
I mean, does that sound right? It has to be successful.
Yeah.
When you got quality people, you've got quality employees, you got a quality ownership with a quality brand, it's hard not to be successful, right? So we wish you the best. Tell our listeners the best way to get hold of you in your business if they need to get hold of you.
Well, they could call 407-751-1677. They found us in social media like PuroClean of Meadow, also the www.puroclean.com. They could get us there also.
Easy enough. Excellent.
Yeah, very good.
Right. Excellent. Well,
you know what?
very
Thank
much.
you so much for taking the time and coming and talk to us today. Always good to see you. Met you a couple of times now, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jorge. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'd like to thank you for listening to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group and keep the conversation going. If you'd like to learn more about us and our business, check us out at holeinthewall.com. If you'd like to learn more about how to start a Hole in the Wall franchise, go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.